Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What Am I Thinking? A podcast where two sisters share uplifting conversations on fun and sometimes serious topics.
Join us each week by clicking the notification bell and subscribing to our channel. If you enjoy the show, use the share link. It's one of the best ways to expand the conversation.
Welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What am I thinking? So, we are continuing to talk about Bravo's The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. We talked last week about the relationship between Heather and Whitney, and we've decided that we want to focus this week on Jen Shah because of her impending sentencing. So we want to talk about the Jen Shah that has shown up this season prior to pleading guilty. And I think it's very important to look at her through her lens of saying I'm innocent every other minute and knowing that she ultimately pled guilty. It's a little bit difficult for me to swallow. Whatever her reasoning, I think about the TV court shows that when someone comes in and said they did no contest or they pled guilty because, and the judge cuts them off right there and says, there's nothing else you can say. You pled guilty. Whatever your reasoning was, you are seen as a guilty person. Mm-hmm. So there is no conversation that she can have to justify it, because when you plead guilty, you have to actually say, I did A, B, C, D. Those are conditions of most guilty pleas. So then to come to the public, the audience, and say, well, I only did it because, it's not going to fly with me. Some other people may give them a pass on that, but it would not work for me, because I just feel like, you did enough stuff wrong that you could not get away with it. So even if it's not every little charge, it's enough where you knew the goose was cooked.
So, one of the questions that had come up when all of this started was, how much did Coach Shah know? So last season, we really didn't get to see or hear much in terms of that family dynamic, how he felt about it. But, this season we really are seeing that from episode 1 with his birthday party. Mm-hmm. And when I look at him, and like you say, definitely hindsight's 2020. We were watching this before she actually gave her plea. I see a man who he's showing up differently this season than he did for her last season. Mm-hmm. And you and I have had conversations about little things, like when they were in the house and they were talking about like the bill, and he said something to the effect of how she could afford it, or which means that her money was paying for these rental properties. Yeah. So just seeing and knowing that they were in that huge chalet, and then they moved into another house that was just as grand as the chalet. And to see him now, I have to say, I believe he was a man letting his wife live her life. Mm-hmm. He wasn't questioning a whole lot, I don't think. Mm-hmm. He was doing his thing, coaching.
Mm-hmm. So you want to say he had no knowledge? I mean, and it could be very valid, because in order to be married to her, I'm sure he does a lot of compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
The thing that I see with him this season, especially in this most recent episode that we saw, is, and this is the episode I'm referring to, is when she comes back and tells him about what happened at the choir audition with and all of that. He is very indignant and just upset. You know, he gets really upset at the husband of Angie Harrington for his role in the Shaw Exposed. But the thing that they continue to not focus on with that Shaw Exposed is they weren't exposing Jen Shah. They were dragging Lisa Barlow. So if they wanted to make it seem like Jen Shah was dragging Lisa Barlow, maybe. But what would it have taken for you to make a post to say, this is not me, this has nothing to do with me, whatever, you know? It was not like they were giving updates on what's happening with Jen Shah on Shaw Exposed. So I think you are projecting your anger about something that you really, it's a little bit much for me. And then on the whole friendship thing, for Coach or Jen to ever say that Heather was not a real friend over a website, a blog that you know she had nothing to do with
it, right?
To let that be the reason you not, because Jen Shah can be so hypersensitive, so reactive, and y'all just give that woman a pass. And the public gives her a pass by thinking it's funny or thinking because she jokes and makes. This is not cute to me. She goes from 0 to 10. And it is not, especially if you're on the other end of that. And it's not even in proportion to what has happened. So I'm just not, I don't get it.
But you know, often the saying, thou dost protest too much.
Too much. Yes.
When she was in Angie's face, when they were standing outside of the auditions and just screaming at her, I'm innocent, I'm innocent. And Angie's expression was priceless, because it's like, girl, you know what your husband did. Don't even try and pretend. Right. But you was acting.
Right,
okay?
Right.
But it was like you said, the energy that went into all of that, if you really aren't guilty.
Right.
If there's nothing actually on the site that has anything to do with you.
Right. What is the big hoopla?
Exactly.
Let it go.
Exactly.
And when she said, what your husband does, you are married. And I'm like, oh, really?
That's a good one.
And so when Angie tried to throw that back at her a little bit, and that's when she did but I'm innocent, so he's not guilty of it. Okay, so now you are guilty of something. So do we get to drag him now?
Absolutely.
No, you would have a fit.
Right.
You would have a fit. So I wonder how he has reconciled her guilty plea. I guarantee you they have the box they are going to want to check is the attorney is saying, with Stu and everybody else having pled guilty, there is no way we can defend against that. And in order to not get a 30-year sentence and you can come out and see your kids and your grandkids at some point, you need to plead guilty. That is what they're going to say. But then my thing is, those other individuals, if you're innocent, they all worked for you. Are they not innocent too then? And they're pleading guilty. Why? It doesn't track.
It's funny because I think it was in the second episode, Meredith very much knows, and she sees the writing on the wall. And she is a very smart lady in not allowing her thoughts
to be spoken.
You can see it on the facial expressions, but she very much knew when they were talking about the other people that had taken plea deals that the outcome was not good.
Right.
For Jen.
And once again, Whitney is not the dummy that people want to try to paint her to be when she said, why are we celebrating this delay? The government is probably getting the witnesses ready, getting more people to do this. And I'm like, thank you. They are shoring up their case, baby.
Right.
They are making it lockstep solid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is not something to celebrate. And the other thing, people are so shocked that Meredith has seemingly mended things with Jen. Well, think about it. During the reunion, Jen was one of the people that kind of did not go after Meredith, and I would say they had a little empathetic sort of moment even then. This hot mic moment has happened, so we know Lisa is not going to be her person, and so Jen had done the apologies to her son, to her, and just like we talked about last time with Whitney telling Heather, I hear you, I accept that, but it's going to take me a minute for us to really get back to anywhere close to where we were. That's what Meredith needed with Jen. So you got to realize there's some camera downtime that we're not around, and that's what she allowed to happen, and she was able to let that happen because she didn't have Lisa Barlow around. She saw her in a different light.
But the other thing too, Tracy, is that there are degrees to friendship.
But also, Mary is no longer on the show.
Right.
So if she's going to stay on this show, she has got to pick her battles and be like, well, I'm certainly not going to be friends with her.
Right.
Whitney and Heather have this tight bond. So
it made sense.
Exactly. So when people say, I'm just so shocked, she didn't say she would never be friends with Jen. She said she needed time.
She said she needed an apology. Remember?
A real one. And she said your actions. And so, and why is she going to kick her when she's down?
Right.
She knows what this woman is facing. So what harm is it for her to choose to be a friend for her right now? Because in her mind, she's probably like, well, she going to be locked up. Only have to do this for this season. So it's one of those things where it's not that shocking to me. But when it comes to Jen Shah, I feel bad for her family because no one wants to have a family member to have to go through this. And I feel so hurt for her sons and how this is going to affect them.
Mom.
And her. Yeah, because she was the center of that family. And I know that's going to be challenging for them. So I hope they are getting things in order so it can do the least amount of harm, and that they're talking to therapists, that they're doing some things to stay mentally well and not minimizing what's about to happen. And it's seeming like, I know there was some conversation about when she's sentenced, when she had to turn herself in to start serving that time, because I believe she wanted to be able to do the holidays. So she's got Thanksgiving, so I hope they're doing some great things for that. Christmas is not promised. So I just hope they are doing some things to make some memories and put some plans in place so that it does the least amount of harm for her youngest son and even for Coach. And depending on how many years we're talking, I know he is of the Muslim faith, and does that mean they stay married through all of this and survive it? Or is he a man that is going to, I don't know, because if if she's going to get anywhere close to the amount of years that I'm thinking she's going to get, that's a lot of time to, but I know they have a strong love. But then I go back to right before the season before where they were on the verge of divorce.
Right.
So I don't know. That's going to be very interesting. I know it's probably hard for him because he knows people are going to, they're going to judge whatever he does. Mm-hmm. So I just hope he can do whatever is going to be in the best interest of both of them. And I don't know, depending on how many years they may have an agreement. If it's this many years, let's try to stick it out. If it's this many years, I'm going to free you. You know, it would be interesting.
Well, as this plays out this week, when we come to know what that time is for her, like Tracy said, it's bad news all the way around.
Yeah, there are no winners.
And it's just interesting that Bravo decided to allow this to play out, and they allowed Jen to come back so that.
Well, remember, she had not pled guilty.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, is that this is being filmed and she can protest her innocence because she had not pled guilty.
Well,
what's going to happen now?
Well, when they had BravoCon,
yes,
she reportedly was not supposed to be there. So that alone shows the network stance on that, even though she showed up anyway.
Oh, I didn't know.
She crashed.
So my thing was that they are saying they want to see what happens with the sentence. And I think they're trying to see if they can do a New Jersey kind of thing where Teresa went away and did her time. And while she was away, they filmed a little with the husband and the girls and the rest.
I almost feel like the fact that they wouldn't allow her to really sit with the cast.
Well, because she has not, because she's pled guilty now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they want to see how much time she's going to get. And I think they're trying to say, depending on how much time she gets, because Andy wants to sit down.
Right, you're right.
He wants to sit down.
Right.
He wants to be able to talk to her and hear her side of things. And if she gets a number of years that's going to say it's no way we could continue, but if she gets anything 5 and under, they might hold out hope that she can come back. Who knows? But I don't think it's going to be that low of a number, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. I don't. But, anything could happen. Because her co-conspirators, I don't know if any of them have been sentenced yet.
I don't know either.
And whatever they get would also be telling as to what she's going to get time-wise. So, to be determined.
Yeah. So, thanks for tuning in, and leave your feedbacks, because we're really interested in how you feel about what's going on with Jen Shah. And check back next week when we continue talking about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, where we're going to focus on Lisa and Meredith. Thank you. Bye-bye.